Alright, so for this project we will be walking through using the data that I did in a previous video where I cleaned up this Excel sheet of data. It's got used car data from India, and what we're going to do now is we're going to bring that in to Microsoft Power BI and we're going to visualize it now that we've cleaned it. So go check out that video. There should be a link in the description and then maybe on the video right now for you to go ahead and check that out. So right now what I've got some used car data. I've got a couple different attributes to consider. I'm going to throw a link to the data set in here, and you can go ahead in the description. You can go ahead and follow along with this. So I'm going to try just a couple things out here. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and let me just see if I can get a just overall count of how many cars there are. So what I want to do is I want to build out just a general, just like a inventory overview. Okay, cool. So I've got the full name right here. So I'm actually going to bring this over. Super simple. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to go for one of these cards. And then let's see if we can get the card to show us just a overall count. So all we have to do to get that number is we'll add the first full name, well, not first full name, we'll add the full name, and then we'll do the count of that, and that'll give us a number of essentially rows in our database. And from here, we want this to say this many cars, and we don't want it to give us the, yeah, perfect, we want that number, and then we want, I think maybe call out value is what, maybe not call out value. Let's do this though. General title, yes, cars, and that's the title, so we could put that in the middle, increase that, bring this down, perfect. That's the sort of header that we're going to want here. One thing I'm going to want to do early on is I'm going to want to go and change the theme, so that way we have something a little bit more aesthetic. It's great. And then off the jump, I'm going to go ahead and change this to, it's kind of my favorite font here these days, which is the DIN. And then we got this as a smaller card. And let's look and see if we can do anything interesting with that. Yeah, kind of like that. I've got a little bit of a border on there. It's kind of cool. You got like sort of a black border with a blue outline there. We don't really need to think about that too much. Let's see what else. Yeah, we can turn those header icons off. Tooltips, I don't think we need to really worry about that too much. Cool. So now we got the number of cars. Let's go ahead and get some sort of breakdown of the number by the overall make. So let's do this. Let's maybe start with a, let's do the make, bring that over, and what we'll do is let's see what's up with this. So here we go. We have the make by the mileage. This is showing what makes have the most mileage right now. So I don't know if that's exactly what we're going to want to go with. Let's maybe try. Yeah, so I think this is actually better by count of full name. This is actually just going to say by the number of unique full names, what is the overall count of the make. Let's rock with this. We're gonna take this, and I think maybe what we'll do We kind of lay this out here early on. Let's do this right here, and then what we'll try to do is a map. I'd like to do a map to show what cities they're in. We can maybe try that. We'll see if like a filled map will work. I do not know that if it will work if we don't have a latitude, longitude. I'm pretty sure that it won't work, but we can give it a shot. Alright, so all I had to do for that map was go and say, to put the location in the location field, and it looks like it auto-detected all the cities here. So all we're going to do is just work with a little bit of the just the way the map is showing the symbology of the features here. We're just going to want to be thoughtful about that. We got like some stuff like bubble size over here, so I can maybe say by like price. We can do bubble size by price, and we could do say like average, and so you say like average price. So that's actually kind of cool. So this is like symbology by average price. Let's see if we can figure out. Let's do a different style map. That one looks pretty cool. We can add some zoom buttons, and then maybe even a lasso button, which should allow us to select. And then that'll show us that in this city we actually have like these brands. So that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. And I like having the ability to zoom in here. This gives us more usability on the map. That's neat. So let's go ahead and maybe put this over here. Or maybe we'll do like a head to toe map. Great. Let's go ahead for the legend. We'll say, let's go with that price here. Let's see if we can get, yeah, let's do, actually I think that's not good. That's not going to work. That doesn't seem like that's what we want. So I changed some settings to the bubble size, and that was, and then I added these labels, and then I changed the font here. So actually, super into that. I'm going to try to actually make those a little bit more usable here with the background. Yeah, there we go. That looks clean. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and change the title to where it actually says, oh, we'll say average price by. Great, so we'll do like a middle, and we'll bring this up and we'll change that to din. And these are really important to have these titles here, so that way people know what they're getting into. And so just a really nice thing to have. Just doing some formatting on this tooltip here. So that's really good. Now we're going to do some more formatting on this, because this tooltip is fine, but we're going to want to maybe clean this up to get rid of the underscore and then the really long decimal there. So one of the ways I'm going to set this straight is I'm going to go ahead and say right here, I'm going to say like average price. Right, average price, And then I'm going to go ahead and click on that column, and then we're going to turn this actually into a currency, and then we are going to also change the decimal, which I kind of already did here. And there are so many, I'm going to have to dig down here to find it. Okay, cool. So I found it, and then I changed the decimal place to just 1. It's a format of currency, and awesome. So let's look right here. So the average price for a vehicle, 9.8, 13, 15, 11. Great. So we're looking good here, and this is a really nice thing to have. So really valuable. So let's keep in mind that this is probably a top thing to do for your currencies here. So this map is looking pretty good. Okay, now let's go ahead and do a little bit more formatting over here on this chart, because we kind of neglected this. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take maybe like the top 10 or 15 of this. So we're actually going to say make is, and then we're going to go to where it says top N to filter this visual. And so we'll say like top 15. We'll apply the filter, and I think that worked. Oh, data fields. So yep, I need to do full name. Count the full name. We'll apply that. So there we go. So now we have a more readable chart here. Everything's lining up pretty good. But let's say, and we'll say instead of count a full name, because that doesn't mean anything to anybody. We just need to show, hey, this is the count of cars. So we'll say just like count, or say like inventory count, because that's what that is. And then what we could do is we could over here in the legend, bring that over. I think that would be cool. And then let's go ahead, and we're going to do a couple of formatting things with this, but let's go ahead and work with some of these labels. So with the x-axis, it is pretty evident that that's the make, so we're going to remove that label there. Change these to din. Make these a little bit bigger. See how large I can get away with without it exploding. Awesome. Color, I'm gonna make that white just for contrast. Y-axis, I think we're just gonna take the title off there as well. Din. Up that. That's perfect. Change the color. Titles off. Create legend. Let's do center left. Great. So now we can see the average price by the make. That's working out pretty good. Very cool. So we can see where Audi is more expensive, which it's pretty much in line with the whole data set. But actually what's interesting is if you wanted to get in this city, if you wanted to look for an Audi versus this other make, this would actually be a good place for a deal. Interesting. All right. So we got the cars, we have an inventory count by make and make, which we're going to want to change that title. Grid lines, let's take those off, make that super clean. Data labels, let's bring those in. I should like that. Let's see if we can move this map a little bit to make way for this. Actually, what we could do, if we wanted to, is actually change where this legend is at. Yep, and then all the labels would show up. So it's all about real estate. You got to think about that. I want to make sure we save this as we're working, because that's really important, so you don't lose your progress. Position, let's see. Yep, like that. That's good. And that's working out perfect. And we can actually just, I think, turn tooltips off. We don't really need them in this scenario. And I'm actually thinking of taking the legend off because all that is there. So I think it's getting a little redundant. Let's take that legend off. And let's do this. Let's actually get into messing with this title. Inventory, okay. Great. So we have that there. We got our map. We have the ability to select on the map and then see over here what's going on. So like in this city, we have mostly these two brands. We don't really have a whole lot of the other brands. If I wanted to go here, let's see. Yep. Very cool. All right, so let's do something else. I think maybe I want to do average price and then like the number of makes. That would be cool. So I'm actually going to copy and paste this so the formatting is exactly the same. I'm going to space these out appropriately, just so we can have a cool symmetrical thing going on here. So let's do this. So for one, what I'm going to want to do is change this to the price, and then we'll do the average, and that's across the entire data set. So let's go in here and say for the title, average price. Awesome. And then over here, maybe what we'll do is we'll say average mileage. We'll do this kind of in reverse from what we did last time. And we'll have to go over here, and for mileage, we'll bring that in instead, and we'll say average. Great. And then I think we have a little bit of room here to kind of stretch these out a little bit. There we go. And we can actually select all these by holding Shift. We'll just align those in the middle. And we have something going on. It's pretty good there. All right, cool. So what we're going to do now, let's go ahead and actually just duplicate this page because we're going to want to do something a little bit different over here. Let's do, let's say, price and mileage by make. Yes, it's going to be the idea. We want to check the fuel economy versus or not the fuel economy, we want to do the price and the mileage by the make. So we have some of the top brands here. I'm going to look for maybe a slightly different visualization for these guys. I'm going to kind of just feel it through. And what I want to do actually is I want to say let's do mileage by make. I kind of want there to be like a list on the side here and then have these guys filtered within. So I'm going to see. So one valuable thing to keep in mind here is that I actually misspoke about the mileage. I just went straight to mileage, but that's like efficiency versus kilometers driven. So kilometers driven is the actual mileage. So we're actually going to go through here. We're going to modify this. So like the average mileage is this, as opposed to what we had before. So now I'm going to do a tree map, and I'm actually going to make that be the mileage, and then we're going to make sure we label these correctly because this is going to get a little bit wild here. So let's go to the colors actually. Let's see if we can make a like to do like a hot to cold on these tree maps instead of just like all these different colors. We can do lowest color is a kind of chill ice, and the highest value is a red. And then let's see, and we said based off a count of make. So let's actually do based off of kilometers driven and then the average. Okay, let's do that. Okay, cool. So Toyota has the highest concentration of miles driven, looking about nearly twice as much as the lowest value here. Great. Let's go and do some more formatting on this. Data labels, yes, but let's work with those a little bit. They're way too small. Din, white. Awesome. Category labels, yes, also din, and a little bit bigger. And then overall, let's take the entire title of this, just remove what used to be there. I'll say great. Cool, and then let's do this. We'll actually go for price as well, and we're going to copy and paste this guy over. Then we're just going to change the values, and we're going to try to make these sort of meet each other. All right. So instead of making mileage, let's do the price in black, and then average. Great, so we can actually filter these off of each other, so we can see that the price that's higher may not be the one that's actually driven the most. It looks like Audis are number 2 in price, but then they're towards the middle of the list for what's actually driven. Ford, Toyota. Toyota is actually lower in price, but then higher in miles driven, which is my experience at Toyota, and that's awesome. So let's go ahead and change this title. And we might actually make this a different spectrum of heat map. I'd like to go from something that's green to indicate price, because usually people relate green to money. So let's do, I'd like to do a green, but maybe not that one. Too dark, that's perfect, I think. And the lowest value could be maybe like that. And let's say instead of the average kilometers driven, let's do the price average. And then we can actually add a middle color, which is kind of fun because we can actually go in here and we can get like a sort of in between. Let's try that. It looks kind of weird now that I've seen it actually come about, so we'll actually do, let's get rid of the middle color. We'll make the lower value a little bit perfect. I think it kind of looks like a grapefruit, but that's okay. Make sure we change this title, price average by make. Cool. All right, so now that we have that, one thing we can do is we can go and mess with the fuel economy. Let's see if that is an option that we can bring in here. I'm going to duplicate this just in case I want to use any of the maps here, tree maps, excuse me. Let's do this. So let's do the something with the seats maybe and the number of owners. And we'll see where we can take that. Let me go ahead. I'm going to remove that. I don't even know why I brought that over. Let's do owners. All right, cool. We got a count of owner type. This is all right. First, second, third, fourth, and above. Okay, so most of these are first owner vehicles. Awesome. Let's say number of seats. Let's do count, and then we'll do average. Number of seats. I don't really know if that's the best thing for it. Maybe we'll do something like that. And then maybe we'll do a mileage. Or actually, let me be correct here, kilometers driven, and then we'll maybe split that by owner type. That could actually be kind of interesting. And this sort of shows what we'd expect, where it gives us more miles on average by the level of owner. So we know that the average miles for first owner is something like 55, but then on the high end we're looking at 119 for the fourth owner. And we could actually try going with something like this. We'd have to yes, this is a little bit of a complex chart here, and I probably won't dive into this that much, but we could try to track the increases in between the tiers. So like how many miles on average does it increase when you sell up to the second owner? One thing I could do here is split by a transmission type, which is kind of interesting. We could do here is bring in I think it's not the x-axis. Hold on, what did I do here? Not small multiples. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the count of transmission types, or Alright, cool. So I just had to change the type to clustered bar chart. And here we can see that manuals actually get used significantly more. And that's kind of an interesting deal here. So let's see if I actually go. Yeah, so this is interesting. This is worth kind of diving into, I think. Between automatics and manuals, you do have less mileage, less average mileage on the automatics. So manual drivers are really driving. Let's go ahead and add in this. And I like the way automatic and manual have the colors here. That's perfect. Let's go ahead and change the title. So we'll say average by owner and transmission type. We'll align that, set the font. I'm going to remove some of these values here for the titles. Actually, down here for this title, I'm going to actually change this and say and actually I think it's worth bringing this over here maybe, and maybe bringing this down here. Yeah, that deserves a lot more real estate. Set that like that. But here on this pie chart we do, or this donut chart, we need to modify this a little bit so that it doesn't look super ugly. Let's go ahead and change that legend bottom center. and move this down. And I'm beginning to think this isn't that important, so I'm going to actually take that out. I'm going to slide this down, and then cool. We'll change this title here, so we'll say like owner type distribution, and then cool. We're going to change those labels here, and we're going to say data value, percent of total. Okay, great. All right, awesome. So we see we mostly have first owner vehicles, some second, but we do not have a lot of these fourth and above, so they're actually not really a concern for us. So that's nice. We are going to want to make sure that we are separate here, so that way our label isn't getting eaten. Great, so let's look back at what we have. So we have kilometers driven average by make, price average by make, and then we have the inventory overview of just what brands are where and what the average price is and how many cars they have across the entire inventory here. And if we even select one city, we should be getting the entirety of just the cars for that city. And then if we really select down, we hold shift, we could just get all of the values for just that brand, for just that city. We also have some owners and seats. We don't have the fuel economy worked in there, but that could be for a later video. But with that being said, if you have followed along this long, thanks so much for watching. Check out my other Power BI videos. I have courses on Skillshare and here on YouTube that you can go ahead and you can check out. There should be some links in the description. Go ahead and follow along with those if you want to learn Microsoft Power BI. If this video was helpful to you, please leave it a thumbs up or share it with a friend who would also find it helpful. If you have any questions or any project ideas, please throw them in the comments, and have a good one.